The lights of women's basketball are flickering under pressure tonight. At the center of it all stands one voice, steady calm, but shaking the league to its core. Stephanie White, the Indiana Fever head coach, just did what no one in power dared to do: defend Caitlin Clark publicly. After months of silence, backroom whispers, and social media chaos, White broke her silence. And what she said didn't just rattle the WNBA. It exposed the truth everyone was too afraid to face. The league's brightest star isn't just playing basketball anymore. She's fighting a political battle she never signed up for. When Stephanie sat down for her interview, the expectation was routine: talk about growth, development, maybe the team's chemistry. But instead, her words hit like thunder in a quiet storm. "I hate it all for Caitlin," she said softly, and those 6 words cracked open a facade the WNBA had been building all season. For the first time, a coach in the inner circle admitted what fans had been shouting for months: Caitlin Clark is being used, not protected. And that single confession became the match that lit an entire league on fire. You could feel the shift instantly. The video spread like wildfire, fans clipping, sharing, analyzing every frame. But this wasn't some angry rant. It was worse for the league. Stephanie White didn't scream. She didn't accuse. She calmly told the truth, and it stung harder than any headline, because her words didn't just defend Caitlin. They indicted the WNBA itself. She painted a picture of a young woman, just 23, carrying the weight of an empire on her back, surrounded by people who only see her as leverage in their games of power. For months, everyone's been waiting for someone to speak up, for someone on the inside to say what's been obvious. Caitlin Clark isn't just an athlete. She's a WNBA's golden ticket, the face plastered on every ad, every post, every promo. And yet, when the hate, the fouls, and the criticism came raining down, the same league that profits our image turned silent. That silence wasn't neutrality, it was betrayal. And Stephanie White just broke it wide open. Because behind that silence, there's fear. Fear of change, fear of imbalance, fear of what happens when one player becomes bigger than the brand. Caitlin's presence threatens to redefine what women's basketball is. And not everyone likes that. Stephanie's defense wasn't just about protecting one player. It was about challenging a system that punishes greatness when it comes too fast, too bright, too unstoppable. The message was simple but seismic. You can't keep using Caitlin Clark while pretending she's the problem. White didn't hold back. She said out loud what the league has whispered behind closed doors for months. Caitlin's name is being weaponized in every CBA debate, every locker room dispute, every media narrative. She's become the easy headline for everyone's agenda. Want to demand higher pay? Mention Caitlin. Want to critique favoritism? Mention Caitlin. Even when she says nothing, her name echoes through every controversy like a ghost the league can't stop summoning. Stephanie called it exactly what it is: exploitation disguised as conversation. The irony is painful. Caitlin Clark has barely said anything all season. No wild statements, no social feuds, no drama. And yet somehow she's the eye of every storm. Stephanie White sees the toll. She sees the bruises from hard fouls, the strain from carrying not just a team but an entire sport's expectations. And what makes it worse? The people closest to the league keep dragging her name into battles she never started. She's not the one talking. Everyone else is, using her as the center of their fight for relevance. When White called Caitlin a pawn, it wasn't a metaphor, it was a mirror, a reflection of how the WNBA has treated its biggest asset. The league uses her image to sell tickets. The players use her name to negotiate better contracts. The media milks her story for views. And all the while, Caitlin Clark is just trying to play basketball. It's a cruel paradox. The most beloved and most criticized athlete in the league is the one who said the least. And Stephanie's calm tone made that truth hit even harder. In one interview, Stephanie White managed to do what the commissioner, the PR teams, and the executives couldn't. She told the truth without spin. "We're going through growing pains," she said, almost with empathy, but her meaning was sharp. The WNBA's leadership isn't just failing to grow, it's failing to understand what it's growing into. A real professional league with real stars, real criticism, and real stakes. But instead of adapting, it's clinging to old politics, treating new fame like a threat instead of a gift. White's message about leadership hit the league's top brass like a warning shot. She didn't have to say Kathy Engelbert's name. Everyone knew exactly who she meant. The commissioner has spent months dodging criticism, deflecting accountability, and issuing robotic statements every time controversy erupted. From officiating scandals to player mistreatment, her tone has been one of distance. But when White said, "Leadership needs to reflect where we are as a league," it was the most polite version of wake up or step down anyone could deliver. Because let's face it, the WNBA isn't struggling because of its players. It's struggling because of its leadership. When fans chant for fairness, they're not asking for miracles. They're asking for management that actually listens. Stephanie White, a former player herself, understands the history, the grind, the evolution. She lived through the early days when players begged for year-round insurance, when media coverage was a luxury, when respect wasn't guaranteed. That's why her words carry weight. She's not some outsider criticizing the system. She built it. But what she's seeing now is a system that's cracked under its own contradictions. The league wants to be mainstream, but refuses to handle mainstream pressure. It celebrates stars, but silences them the second they become controversial. It demands loyalty from players, but offers none in return. Stephanie White didn't just highlight a problem. She exposed a rot in the foundation. And Caitlin Clark's situation is the proof. You can't build a league on a player's back while pretending she's just another name on the roster. Every time a player criticizes the WNBA, Caitlin's name is dragged into it. Every new policy is compared to how it affects her. Every headline, every debate, every disagreement somehow becomes about her. Stephanie called it what it is: dehumanization. Caitlin isn't treated like a person anymore. She's a brand, a marketing strategy, a symbol to be argued over. And that's what broke Stephanie's composure. She's watched her player endure the weight of millions, while the league that should protect her looks the other way. It's not just the commissioner. It's the culture. There's jealousy simmering beneath the surface, an unspoken resentment of Caitlin's popularity. Players who fought for years now see her spotlight and wonder why it came so easy. But the truth is, it didn't. Caitlin earned every second of it through excellence, humility, and composure. She's taken hits that would make most people quit, and not just physical ones. Yet she stays silent, focused, professional. Stephanie White sees that restraint, and she knows silence shouldn't be mistaken for weakness. That's why her defense matters. Because she's not just defending a player, she's defending a person who's been turned into a scapegoat for the league's identity crisis. Stephanie made it clear the WNBA is at a crossroads. Either it learns how to handle success or it collapses under it. The ratings, the ticket sales, the buzz, it's all real, but success without structure is chaos. And right now, the league looks more like a PR fire drill than a professional institution. That's what makes her comments so dangerous and so necessary. She's not wrong. The WNBA's leadership is outdated, reactive, and too proud to admit it. For months, players like Nafisa Collier and Sophie Cunningham have publicly criticized the commissioner for being disconnected. Collier even alleged Engelbert told Caitlin Clark to be grateful for platform. Sophie called her delusional. Yet none of those moments cause as much ripple as White's calm truth, because her power doesn't come from outrage. It comes from credibility. And when she speaks, people listen. Fans know it. Players know it. The front office knows it too. And that's the problem. Because now the league can't hide behind silence anymore. White has forced the conversation into daylight. The message was loud and clear. You can't preach empowerment while exploiting your own. Caitlin Clark didn't ask to be the face of the league. The league made her that. They marketed her image, sold her story, and cashed her value. But when she needed protection, they vanished. Stephanie White isn't just angry. She's disappointed. And disappointment from someone like her cuts deeper than hate. Her tone in that interview wasn't fiery. It was weary. The kind of tone that comes from someone who's seen this movie before. Because she has. She played in the WNBA. When the league was fighting for survival, she knows what unity looks like. And she knows what self-destruction feels like. Right now, the WNBA is inching dangerously close to the ladder. She knows that if the leadership doesn't course correct, the league won't just lose its credibility. It'll lose its soul. And Caitlin Clark might be the first domino to fall. Because make no mistake, Caitlin Clark is exhausted. She hasn't said it, but you can see it in the way she carries herself. Every headline, every foul, every debate, she absorbs it all. She's 23 years old, and carrying the weight of an entire league's politics. And when Stephanie said she hates it all for Caitlyn, it wasn't pity, it was frustration. Frustration that someone who just wants to hoop can't escape the noise. The WNBA made her its symbol, and now it's suffocating her under that crown. The craziest part? Caitlyn Clark has never asked for any of it. She's never demanded special treatment, never played victim, never lashed out. Her only crime is being too good, too famous, and too profitable. And somehow, that's enough to make her a target. The more she succeeds, the more she's blamed for everything that's wrong. Stephanie White sees that injustice, and she's finally calling time on it. Because if the league keeps turning its hero into a villain, there won't be a league left to save. White's warning wasn't just about Caitlyn. It was about the future. The WNBA is at its breaking point. Fans are watching closely. Sponsors are paying attention. And every controversy, every misstep, every act of hypocrisy is pushing the league closer to the edge. Stephanie knows this. She's not anti-league. She's anti-nonsense. She believes in the sport and the players and the fans, but not in the chaos consuming it. Her message was a final chance for the WNBA to get its act together before it loses the trust of everyone who still believes. It's heartbreaking to watch because this should be the WNBA's golden age. The attention, the excitement, the talent, it's all there. But instead of celebrating progress, the league is drowning in politics. Every week brings another headline, another feud, another controversy. And somehow, Caitlyn's name is always in the middle of it. Stephanie White didn't just speak out to make noise. She spoke out to protect the game itself, to remind everyone what's at stake if they keep using her player as a shield instead of a symbol. She's right. The more the league uses Caitlyn's name for damage control, the more fans see through the illusion. People aren't blind. They know when they're being sold a story. They see the officiating double standards, the inconsistent statements, the empty gestures. And now, thanks to Stephanie, they see the truth behind it all. The WNBA isn't protecting Caitlyn Clark. It's protecting itself. That's why this interview isn't just news. It's a turning point, a moment when one coach finally said enough is enough. White's calm defiance hit harder than any outburst could. She didn't just call out names. She called out patterns, the performative leadership, the corporate spin, the silence that follows injustice. Her message was universal. Leadership isn't press releases, it's action. And when the league ignored Caitlyn getting knocked down, both literally and figuratively, it showed where their priorities really were. White, without raising her voice, flipped that narrative. She reminded everyone that the real heart of the WNBA isn't in the boardroom, it's on the court. But even as she defended her player, Stephanie White refused to make it just about blame. She called the chaos growing pains. Because deep down, she still believes in what the WNBA could become. She knows every major sports league went through its own period of dysfunction. The NBA, the NFL, all of them. But what separates survival from collapse is how leaders respond. Will the WNBA learn, or will it bury itself under the weight of its pride? That's the million-dollar question Stephanie left hanging in the air. As the noise grows, the danger becomes clearer. Fans are starting to tune out, not because they don't care, but because they're tired. Tired of the politics. Tired of the silence. Tired of watching stars get mistreated while executives get praised. The league that should be uniting fans is dividing them. And at the center of it stands Caitlyn Clark, a player who never asked for fame, never chased controversy, but now carries the burden of both. Stephanie White's plea wasn't just to protect a player. It was to save a league from itself. Because if something doesn't change, Caitlyn won't be the only one walking away. The fans will too. The sponsors, the credibility. Everything the WNBA has built could crumble. White knows it. You can hear in her tone equal parts sorrow and urgency. She's not just speaking as a coach. She's speaking as a witness to history repeating itself. The WNBA is on the verge of greatness or collapse, and which side it lands on will depend entirely on whether it listens to voices like hers. In the end, Stephanie White did what real leaders do. She spoke truth to power. She reminded the league that success isn't measured by ratings or profits. It's measured by how you treat your people. Caitlyn Clark has carried herself with grace through chaos, humility through hype, and silence through slander. But no one can carry the weight forever. Stephanie's warning was clear. Stop using her as a pawn or risk losing her for good. Because when your brightest light walks away, Darkness follows, and this time there may be no coming back.